Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be talking to Marissa Ciar, the showrunner for the incredible Hulu show Black Cape. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on the call today, starting with Kim Singleton in New York, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Canada, Reggie Pounder in Chicago, Illinois, Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Christine you're in Florida, right?
Yes, Tampa, Florida.
In Tampa, Florida. Christine, one of our new members, but Christine Belton, right?
Belfort.
Belfort in Tampa Bay, Florida. And of course, Nancy Green in Los Angeles and Jill Monroe in Los Angeles. I'm going to let you guys do your thing, and I will see you on the other side.
I'm sorry. Don't hate me. I had car stuff, and then I couldn't find my keys. And...
You don't get to just blow in here acting like you care all of a sudden.
I'm not acting. Ma is dead.
Read the will, please.
Your mother rarely spoke of her childhood.
She never spoke of it. And she always dodged our questions.
Well, in the end, she decided to talk.
I had promised myself I would take all of this with me to my grave. I didn't want to burden you with the weight of it. But I must confess, Eleanor is not my real name.
Covey, wait!
I had to protect you from the life I was forced to have.
I have a way that you can erase all your debts.
My daughter is only 16.
No better age for a wife.
In order to ensure my safety, someone would have to die.
None of this makes sense. I mean, did Dad know any of this?
With the stress of all these secrets weighing on her, she must have felt so alone.
For the rest of my life, I'm gonna keep looking over my shoulder.
What are you running from?
Betrayal is a powerful thing, but love brings the light that will guide you out of your darkest moments.
How many more secrets was Ma keeping?
She has a story, our story. We just have to keep listening.
Some secrets are best left buried.
Here's to the past. May it not blow up our present.
This is your story too.
Hello, Marissa. Black Cake, beautifully done. I love the journey over the continents that this story takes. It's just beautiful. You captured the essence of each location. Tell us, what were some of the challenges in shooting in these different locations?
Well, there were many, many challenges. Bringing a huge production such as this to a small community like Portland, Jamaica, was just a massive undertaking for the community and the crew. But all of us on this project felt it was so important to shoot it in Jamaica, despite the challenges. And we wanted to shoot it in the actual, that was where the book is set. And we didn't want it to be the Jamaica of, the cruise ships and the mega resorts. We didn't want to shoot in another country where we wouldn't have actual Jamaican people on the crew and as part of our cast. So we knew the challenges. We did not go in blind, but we said, I think we can do this. And I have to give credit first of all, to Michael Lohman, who's the head of production for Capitol, because he could have said no. They could have said no. A lot of people would have said no. But he's like, let's do it, And when he went to some other countries that could have acted as Jamaica and sent me some photos, but when I saw the wedding venue and the sea before I actually got to go see it and scout myself, I said, this is Covey's home. It felt like our home, and I wanted the people to be there and to be part of the production and to see themselves portrayed in nuanced fashions in the show. So we did it, and props to everybody who made it happen, because it was a massive undertaking of probably thousands of people. And it's, not, I represent everybody today, but it was an absolute collaboration and a labor of love for everyone.
Thank you. Just beautiful. Not only the story, but the visuals too. Thank you so much.
Hi, Marissa. Ray Cornelius here with Upfront Inside the Entertainment Industry. This originally was a book. And so how challenging was it to take what you have from the book and put that to the small screen?
Well, the book is amazing, and I love the book by Charmaine Wilkerson, and that's why I wanted to adapt it, because I just hadn't read anything like that, and I hadn't seen this story and these characters as the main characters in a premium elevated cinematic streaming series. And, on the page, it wasn't challenging just because it's so rich and it's so lush and it's so exciting, but production that's the most challenging part, and casting, because we have characters we see in, when they're 16 and when they're 73. We see characters when they're 8 and multiple countries all over the world. And that's all great in a book and in screen in final draft, but how do you make that happen? And you have to cast, and you international search to find our amazing cast, to find our Covey, Mia Isaac, and to find our Eleanor Chibo Chung, and so many other characters. So the casting was very challenging. I don't even think I answered your question, Kim. I just sort of went on a tangent, but filming in Jamaica was challenging just because of the infrastructure is different, and they don't shoot movies and TV shows there every single day. So just making sure that we didn't disrupt the community, that we enhanced it, and that we provided opportunities, but that we, showcased it. It was hard, but we did it, and we overcame the weather, which was unpredictable, but look at the sea. I mean, you have the actual sea, and it's in Frenchman's Cove and these beautiful places in the Blue Lagoon, and we captured it all. So many challenges, because the book and the scripts and just the series is so epic in scope and so many timelines. It was very difficult, but if you plan enough and you have people who are supporting you and believe in it as much as you do, it made it possible. But it was not easy. So hard.
Well, like him, I agree. It was beautiful. It was like looking at art in motion. So very, very well job. Good job.
Hi, Christine from Party Chat Podcast News. And first of all, I'm as a Jamaican American, I feel seen. So thank you for taking on this project and putting it on the small screen. So that's something I can share with my daughter, because I feel like you don't see a lot of us like actual Jamaicans on screen, and I'm ecstatic to hear that you said that, you filmed actually in Jamaica and you had Jamaican extras and Jamaican actors involved in the project as well. So that I love that. The question that I want to ask is, as someone who hasn't read the book, but for someone who has, what can the audience expect to be in contrast from the book? Because I know when you take on a book project, there's, you want to make some changes or differences and things like that. So what can the audience expect in that?
Well, I think audiences who've read the book will be very happy, because I would never acquire material to destroy it or dismantle it or just keep the title. I love the characters. I love the world. And it's really, the changes made are to enhance, to expand. A lot of times, it was just making it bigger and building out the world. Episode 3 is something all very, very, very proud of all the episodes, but it's specific in that it was about a page, I think, in the book. And so we had to take one page and turn it into 1 hour. We had to really build up the world of this new job that Covey is taking in Scotland. And we had to cast the characters. Who is she working with at the office? Who is she working for? Is he married? What's his wife like? What's the house like? And what are the, we had to just build it out. And I think for the most part, that's what we did, is we just expanded. And another difference, I think, for people who have read the book is not the whole story isn't told in season 1. There's more story that remains from the book that we plan to tell, and it's intentional. It's not like we just thought that in one particular character, it's like, oh, we told enough, she gets 1 episode and we're done. No, it's because I wanted to do it justice. I wanted to tell the stories right, and when it's subject matter that requires 6 episodes, if I don't have it, then I want to wait, and I want to give these characters time to reckon with all of the stuff that's being thrown at them, rather than just wrapping it up in 1 episode and now they're changed and we lived happily ever after. So I think that people who love this book, and there are many, will love the show, because I love the book, and it was so important to me when Charmaine saw the first 3 episodes and she came into the room and she just said thank you, and I was like, okay, I'm good, like I'm done, I did it, I'm great. You know, you like it, I'm great, because I just want her to know how much care was put into it, because we all love the story and the characters.
Wow, what a sign off, you know, to have the creator yet co-sign on what you're doing. So thank you. And I think more adaptations should take that approach, honestly. That's amazing.
Hi, I'm Reggie Ponder, the real critic out of Chicago. And you show real friendship, I think, in this in so many different ways, almost like the ride or die friend. It's not that you don't show conflict, but a lot of times we see, when we look at women of color, we see that conflict as the thing that's on top of the relationship. And you seem to have just flipped that to not the conflict, but the real undying friendship. Can you speak to that?
So glad you said that. That is so important to me. The friendship between, I mean, there are lots of relationships I could use as examples, but between Covey and Bunny in the book just made me like just so hungry to do this, because they were soulmates. These 2 Black girls coming of age in a time where they're being silenced and they are, you know, lesser than the boys and men, where they're sold off into these arranged marriages. They are soulmates, and they would sacrifice their love for love, and it's not a romantic love. The female relationships in the show, they are the backbone of the series. There are so many examples. There's Pearl and Matilda, and I just loved it so much. And that was one of the reasons when I called and I said, I have to adapt this, nobody else can do it. It's also because I was very protective of it. And I was like, there could be another person who reads this, doesn't think that's important. That is not part of the series. That's not part of the show. Bunny is a non-existent character, or her relationship with Covey is not. It's all about the romantic, you know, Gibbs Covey arc. And I just love these actors, Lachey and Mia, who played Bunny and Covey, and their relationship in real life is just as lovely as it is, you know, on screen. And so thank you for saying that, because that was one of the most important things to me about the book and the series, is the power of female friendships and women lifting each other up in these communities, because it's true to life. And I wanted to, it was really important that come through the screen. So that makes me so happy.
Well, thank you for the answer, and it really does come through. Thank you again.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique.
Hi.
And one of the things that I was really interested in with this is how you depict some of the surfing. And you know, surf culture is something that's been talked about a lot more lately within the Black community. And I wanted to know, can you speak a bit more on that?
That was another thing. There's so many things in this book where I'm like, okay, Black ocean scientist, Black surfer. Like, I just want to see these characters on a mainstream premium series. And I want to go even further if we get to continue telling the story in season 2 and really see Byron and his world and how he came to be, and him growing up and being this Black surfer in Orange County, which, you know, I haven't seen them there, but I'm not in that circle. You know what I mean? But I wanted to introduce the world to that community. And I really wanted to dig deeper into that. But seeing, one of the cool things was Mia, you know, actually surfing on screen. That scene, that was her learning to surf on screen. Like, she went to Jamaica and learned how to surf, and Cheapo is on the board and was in the water, and that's actually Cheapo. And of course we have our, you know, stunt doubles, but what you're seeing is our real characters in the sea and then in the Pacific Ocean. And I love I introduced myself by reading the book, but I want to introduce audiences into these different cultures and communities where you often don't see people of color, just because we are so diverse, just as the people of Jamaica are so diverse. And just showing these nuanced portrayals and introducing the world to these new communities and is important. And I hope I get to do it even more whenever, if we are lucky enough to get a season 2.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jill Monroe, RSVP with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So we've talked a lot about adapting from the source material. And there's a lot of internal dialogue in the book. And as pointed out, several different timelines and storylines that you could focus on. And you've given us a few, but what were some of the other nuances that you wanted to make sure those stories were shown in the series?
Well, I wanted to really highlight the parallels of the mother in the past with the children in present day without hitting the audience over the head with them. And part of the way that I did that was structuring the pitch and then the scripts is, Covey, for example, in episode 3, her story is about many things. So part of what she's tokenized in that episode. And these well-meaning people want to use her story to make themselves look good. And that's not what the big story is or the big twist, but it's something that we can relate to in present day. And it's something that her son is dealing with in present day. Now, he's not dealing with it in that episode. He's dealing with it the episode before, and he's dealing with it in a couple episodes later and through his entire life and in the series. But I wanted to do it in a less obvious way, and to show that it is just an ever-present thing that's been going on. It just looks different depending on where you are. So those, and I hope I'm answering your question. Sometimes I just go all over the place, but I get excited. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. I've been done with this. We wrapped such a long time ago. It's like, oh yeah, that thing we did. But I think portraying those things in a less obvious way and in the nonlinear fashion of this, and waiting a couple episodes to let you see how Benny learning what her mom went through affects her in present day and is actually very similar to some things she's going through with, domestic violence, with identity herself, her identity, and what her mom's best friend went through is similar to things she's struggling with. By spreading it out, it made it feel like we weren't just saying, okay, you check this box, so this is going to be your storyline. It was just one of the many stories that each of these characters have. And I hope that we executed it in an interesting, surprising way.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Marissa Karen. First, here's what happened in Karen and Toss podcast. First of all, I have to thank you for making this series because I'm Barbadian. I'm Bajan. So like seeing the Caribbean and Jamaica represented in this way on screen is very rare for me. The only other project this year was one called The Confessions of Franny Langton by Sarah Collins, who's a Jamaican writer. So like one of the things I love that this show does, it shows things like this surfing culture that is very rich in the Caribbean. It's the same in Barbados. Surfing is very big there. But I love how you talk, how there you interject. In a way, like dispel a lot of myths that people have of the Caribbean, even Black people would have of the Caribbean, such as the meaning behind Black cake. Black cake has such a very tumultuous path, Surfing itself has a very tumultuous past. In the Caribbean, it was very restricted for a lot of Black people, and right now it's cost prohibitive for a lot of us. So talk about dispelling particular myths about the Caribbean using the show, like for instance, the whole idea of fast, that one of the characters mentioned, oh, she fasts. And that's a word we use a lot in the Caribbean to talk about the hypersexualization of Black girls and Black women. So talk about just dispelling particular myths about the Caribbean and Caribbean culture and Caribbean people used in this series.
Well, I think that what we did was just tell the truth. And it was never an intention of like, let's dispel myths, because I mean, I'm the most American Midwestern, grew up in Illinois. Like I had no idea until I read the book, but until I went to Jamaica, until I lived there, until I was prepping there, until I was hanging out with people, until I was talking about politics and what is your life like and different rituals and what is the food you actually eat and what do you actually want and what do you think is missing and how do you feel about this project, coming here. Like I felt like that was the only way to that's the only way to get to know anybody or any culture, is just to like immerse yourself or to ask questions. And I'm so grateful, especially to Shane, who was my driver. And I was like bawling when I got on the plane to leave because I just connected with him so much. It was such an honest relationship of him talking about his life and what his perception of living in the United States was. And I got to dispel some myths for him as well. But I think it was just telling the truth. And just showing, coming of age, a 16-year-old girl coming of age in this community, it's might look a little different than coming of age in your community, but she's going through the same things. She's trying to find her voice. Her community is actually much prettier than your community. But I just wanted to tell the truth. And I think and I hope that it comes across without like we're trying to teach you anything, because we're all so layered. There are so many nuances to all of us, and this particular community in this world where she lived in had its own culture. And I think learning about the Chinese community in Jamaica, which I didn't know until I read Charmaine's book, and until I did my own research and I watched documentaries and I read books and I looked up Chinese shopkeepers in Jamaica. And then of course when I'm there, I see Chinese shopkeepers in Jamaica when you go down the big row of all the little shops, and just showing it as it was. And I was just thankfully to Charmaine for writing this book, because it opened up my eyes to so many things I didn't know because I wasn't taught any of them. And I hope that it can make people see that it is so much more than the backdrop of a postcard. Because that's how I feel like we usually see these stories, is like, oh, some Americans or Europeans are on vacation and their story unfolds, and then but they aren't the main characters. And I just didn't, obviously that would be impossible, but I just didn't want any hint of that. And that even goes for production design, costumes. We didn't want anything to look costumey. We wanted it to look like cool clothes these cool girls in the 1960s in Jamaica would wear. We wanted the hairstyle. We just wanted the pool club. We want, like, what did the pool club, what did it look, the swim club, what did they look like? I think people also had this idea of poverty, and I knew that when we brought on our team, our department heads, I was like, this Covey is a middle-class girl, and we'll see that side. We'll see where people are living in the different homes than her father, the type of home he lives in, and Bunny and Gibbs. I mean, they're these like middle-class kids, but I didn't want to portray it as anybody as a stereotype. And no matter where they came from, I just wanted them to have layers, and hopefully that came across. And the same with Little Man, with this bad guy who has impeccably tailored suits. His hair is always looking right. I wanted him to be this elegant man, even though he's a monster. And so anyway, and we did that by looking at pictures a lot from people who lived there, from their photo albums of the time, what were people really doing with their hair? What would a man like Little Man how would he present himself to the world? So I hope I answered your question, but I think again, it's just telling the truth was the mandate, and I hope that we did as much as we could.
As a born and raised West Indian, Caribbean, Bajan, I can say you guys nailed it on the head. The hair, the clothing, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt wore those clothes. And also I just want to say props to the cinematographers, because I love the ocean. I love the sea. That's my favorite beach back home in Barbados. So I love how the sea is shot, and I love how it reflects in the set design and the costuming. So amazing. I just props to the cinematographers and the set designers.
Thank you. They are so talented, and the water is mandate water everywhere. Feel the water, hear the water, smell the water, even if you don't see the water. So I'm glad that you felt that.
Hi. The scene where Eleanor and her husband are speaking to Byron when he's younger about being careful as a young Black man, basically saying he thought it was unfair, but they were saying, we just want you to get home safe. I thought it was very powerful. Was that something you took directly from the book, or did you add it in that scene? And talk to us about the importance of putting it there or keeping it in the series.
I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe that is from our writer's room. I don't think that's from the book. I could be wrong. At a certain point, it just it's so fuzzy. I don't remember, but I think it's from our writer's room, and the many experiences those of us have had, and those conversations some of us have had or had been on the other end of. And I thought it was so important, the specificity of that, and the amazing writer Yaz, who is the writer of episode 6. Byron as a young Black boy in Newport Beach in Orange County, that's very specific. He had a very different upbringing, and so that conversation is different than a conversation if you're living in St. Louis. It's different, and wanted to really capture that and his experience of feeling like he can't win with anybody, and the things he was saying, you know, I'm too articulate, I'm not articulate enough, I can't stay out late, but I'm like the top of my class, so I'm winning and I'm losing, I can't win. And just seeing that amazing young actor come in and kill it and just connect to the material so much was so great. But I thought it was so important to see that Byron, when we introduce him and early on, that he is, you know, he's the dream. He's the American dream. He's perfect. He's handsome. He's successful. He's charming. He's there for his mother. He was always there. He's there for everybody, but he's got so much inside, and he has to smile when people are putting him down. People who are lesser than him are treating him small, and we see him, and he's holding it inside, and he's holding it inside. And I think that's very relatable for a lot of people, regardless of where you come from, but specifically where he comes from is so important to that particular speech, that all of that woven into that speech, that it's not just some kid. He's not in an urban place. He's in Orange County. Like, it looks a little different when the cop pulls you over there, and you stand out, and they're going to see you. And we worked so hard to get you here. And he had no idea at the time what that meant and everything they overcame to get him to this country. And so it was really important. I'm really proud of the execution, and Mario Van Peebles, who directed episode 6, and how much he loved it and cared for it. And I hope it moves people as much as it moved me.
Well done. Thank you.
Marissa, Ray Cornelius here with Upfront. Wanted to talk about casting. Were these the actors that you had in mind when putting this project together, or were there any surprises for you?
There were so many surprises because, especially I'll start with Covey, because that character, I've not seen that character before. So I had absolutely nobody in mind. No Covey, no Eleanor. We had to discover her, because you don't often see a half Chinese, half Black lead of a series who goes through a life, like a full life, literally and figuratively, just every turning point in her life, so huge. So there was nobody until when Mia showed up her casting tape, the first one, because she had to do a few. I was like, oh, there's Covey. Like, okay, there's Covey. I hear Covey, and the scripts have already been written, you know, locations have been found, but we still don't have Covey. There she was, and she's young, and so there wasn't, you know, someone my age playing, you know, an 18-year-old, and so she had that innocence. She's an innocent, you know, young woman. And then to find, but so she's number one that we, you know, find, and then we have to find a woman who looks like her to believably portray her many, many years later. We have to find Eleanor, and it was very, very difficult. But then when, and actually an actor auditioning for a role that he didn't get, recommended Chipo Chung and said, oh, who's playing Eleanor? I'm like, I don't know, got any ideas? And he said, do you know Chipo Chung? And I looked her up, and I was like, oh my God, I hope she can act. And then she just blew me away. I mean, she plays so many different ages. She's much younger than the character she's portraying. The accents and the accent shifting at where she is in her life, and how long she's been where she is, and how old she is. Just so much depth to her. And she's such a serious actress and an amazing person. So they were just like gifts. It was a miracle to find them. And then the authenticity of, you know, both being half Chinese and half Black from, you know, Chipo, I think, I can't remember exactly which country in Africa, but she's African and Chinese, and then Mia, Panamanian and Chinese. So really being able to be authentic in casting as much as possible, but to cast the best actors at the same time was great. And then Benny is in the book is described in, you know, physically differently than Adrienne Warren, but I was working with Adrienne Warren on my first show. And so when I was hearing Benny in my head writing the script, all of a sudden I was writing, and then I added the music element, because there's a music element that comes up in episode 8. And I was like, she's Benny. I think she's Benny, and this will be very different. I just texted her. I was like, hey, would you consider this? You know, I love her. I would do anything. And the same for Mr. Mitch and Glenn Turman, who is just a gift. I love him so much as a person, as an actor. He elevates every scene. He adds so much depth and heart. He doesn't have to say a word. He blinks and you start crying. They were described differently in the book, but just having worked with them, seeing just what they can do in person, I just was really excited that they wanted to take these roles on. And then I asked Charmaine, I said, how is it important to you that that the actors match these descriptions that are very specific in the book? And she said, absolutely not. I want you to have the best actors for these roles. So and then when Ashley was another one with Byron, you know, he's British, he's Jamaican as well. And the story meant a lot to him. And hopefully one day he'll be able to talk about that. But when he showed up on Zoom for the first casting session, I was like, okay, there's Byron. You know, it just really the cast, there was nobody in my head. The cast brought these characters to life for me. The cast showed me. Lachey, my God, was Bunny. I was like, nobody can be Bunny, but she is Bunny. So they really told us that they embodied these characters and brought them to life and elevated everything.
Thank you, Marissa, for your time today. We really, really appreciate it. On behalf of the association, thank you for watching AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So great to meet you all.